And it's 4:09. This is ABC Newcastle. Well, it's official. The HSC is going ahead, but it will look quite different to previous years. We already knew that the start date had been pushed back to the 9th of November. But today, Year 12 students found out just how their exams will play out under these new COVID-safe protocols. The New South Wales Education Standards Authority has issued a revised timetable with 110 exams taking place over 19 days, ending on the 3rd of December, with students due to get their results just before January 26. So what do local educators think about these changes? Dr. David Roy is a lecturer in education at the University of Newcastle and is here with his thoughts. David, thanks for coming on and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul, and good afternoon, everyone listening at home.
How important is the HSC to the process of tertiary education?
It's not as important as we sometimes like to make out. There are multiple ways for people to enter into university. They don't have to go straight from school with their ATAR and their HSC. For those that want to do that and keep on with that education journey without a break, it's really useful. It gives you a guideline, but again, we're going to remind all the kids out there that if they don't get the results that they're hoping for, now we know the HSC is still going ahead, there's multiple other ways to get in. And being a rural university, Newcastle has got lots of options to offer for that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year because it's really been 2 years of impact on the current Year 12 kids because they were locked down in Year 11 as well.
Yeah. How common is the gap year these days, Dave?
It's not as common as you'd think, and I think it's going to become even less common given the fact that we're not allowed to gap to anywhere at the moment, given the COVID restrictions. But we do notice a difference in those people who come into university, at least I do personally. That year, sometimes 2 years, the maturer the student, the better they are prepared for university and the change in being a self-regulating learner. Because at university, we're not like teachers, we're not going to be on their backs. They have to do the work that we set. And if they don't do it, then they have to just basically be self-motivating. So that year gap, the 2 years gap, matures the students to allow them to cope a lot better with university life.
So what about the revised timetable, getting results just before January 26? Now, that's fairly late in the process, isn't it? And is that going to impact on the availability of university courses?
No, it's not. This has all been negotiated from what I'm hearing with universities across New South Wales. And it's really good that they're actually doing that. They're connecting between the sectors. At the moment, we have this situation with an HSC, and so there's a different issue about if we should have the HSC. But as we have it, I think the fact that offering it this year, making sure kids can actually complete what they've been intending to do in that process, is a good thing. I think it's going to be a lot of work on teachers, both as teachers in preparing and those teachers who mark the HSC to get the results out. But I think it's a necessary thing for those kids who kind of go, this is what we've been building up to. Whether we actually need the HSC to the way that we run it just now is a big discussion by many educators across the board, and there's pros and cons for both. But it's good that I think they're at least doing this, and it gives those kids hopefully some time in the classroom before the examination. They'll actually be back for term 4 for a while, so they can have some face-to-face preparation.
Is there serious discussion about giving the HSC the flick?
I don't think it's about giving it the flick, but about changing the focus on an all or nothing final exam. Many other systems around the world have what we used to have with examinations in Year 10 and Year 11, which means that students do get some accreditation, even if they don't manage to make it through to Year 12. So there's lots of different options that we should be looking at to maybe think, is this the only pathway we really want to have for children at that age? And then they have to wait later to do kind of an entry course into university because they didn't get their HSC. The big concern I've got for this year is the deficit that will be for some students on the online experience, because we know from other research that basically those who've had wealth, who've had access to resources at home, who've had parents who are already highly educated, are going to benefit more within the current HSC, and there will be an economic deficit for some who don't have that access, who had more pressures on them, didn't have the same technology, and they might not do as well because of the lockdown. I just really hope that the system somehow manages to create a methodology to say we need to take that into account. I don't know if it will.
The issue of vaccination is going to be a critical one. Year 12 students are strongly encouraged to have a double dose. I guess that's an acknowledgement of the fact that they maybe can't get them all through before the 9th of November. The reality of trying to get the vaccines into the arms of younger people. Obviously, exam supervisors will need to be vaccinated. Is that going to pose an issue, do you reckon?
I think it's going to be a massive issue. They took away vaccines from the Hunter and then brought them back for Year 12s in Sydney. Now every kid should be getting it in Year 12 and Year 11. Teachers need to be given the vaccine as well. I think we have to remember there's adults in there who are going to be supervising. So they need to create priority for these groups across the whole of the state, not just in certain LGAs down in Sydney. I think this has to become a major issue. I think they will probably try to put something in place. I'm hoping we're going to have more Pfizer coming into the system. Maybe Moderna might be there. But yeah, it's an ongoing concern and a stress for both the adults and the young people in schools.
What about the non-written exams, the courses where there are performances, for example, required? Yeah. Is that going to be an issue under COVID lockdown restrictions?
I think it's a massive issue. I actually was a head of creative arts and a drama teacher, so I was very involved in those practical performance examinations for my students in music and visual arts and drama, etc. And I think they could be disadvantaged. So there needs to be put something again into place to make sure that they have an opportunity to have their work demonstrated and counted, whether that is through video, and that's very possible to do, and through Zoom and watching performances remotely and taking that into account, the design and technology, all those subjects that have a practical component. I still haven't quite seen the detail that's coming out. I trust NESA. I think they're really good in what they do to try and create equity, but it'll be interesting to see what the Minister has managed to put into place for that.
David, just a word of warning, you gave away a bit too much information today. Next time I'll be expecting a song and dance, right, given your background?
Well, I can get my guitar out or piano at some point. Or we can just sit and talk about wonderful music that's out there going as far back as bands like Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Good on you. Thanks, David.
Pleasure. Anytime, Paul.
Dr. David Roy is a lecturer in education at the University of Newcastle. That information will filter through to you, of course, about the HSC. It will happen from the 9th of November, 110 exams taking place over 19 days, ending on the 3rd of December, and students will get their results just before January 26th.